Today we will be ranking every single Black Ops 1 Zombies map from worst to best. Before we begin, keep in mind that these are all my personal opinions, and these will be more summarized versions of my opinions on each of these maps to keep things concise and orderly. If you guys want a bigger, broader perspective on my opinions, go check my channel for retrospectives I've done on each of these maps respectively. Without any further ado guys, let's go right into it. Coming in at our worst map in Black Ops 1, and it pains me to say this is actually Kino der Toten. Kino der Toten is a very popular map to say the least, and even in my retrospective I talked about how it's overhated. But just because it's overhated doesn't mean I love the map. In Black Ops 1, there's so many good maps, and unfortunately Kino just doesn't hold a candle to all the other maps inside of this game. Kino is great for getting better at the game, it's great for introducing a lot of people to the game, but my personal enjoyment of Kino is not really there. At least not anymore. I used to love playing this map when I was younger, but unfortunately with more modern maps in the modern games, Kino is just a map I don't ever find myself coming back to play. It's a great map and it's not bad because Black Ops 1 has all these great maps as I said, but Kino unfortunately for me is the bottom of Black Ops 1. It's not a terrible map, don't get me wrong, it's just not the best. Following up Kino was actually Ascension. Now Ascension I was a bit more critical on in my review for the map. I think Ascension is definitely a step up from Kino, but not by much. One of my biggest problems with Ascension is its unrealistic easy difficulty. Normally in zombies when you're training you don't have a giant open area with nothing in your way like Ascension, so it's artificially getting you better at the game, and I don't think that's a great way to design a map because there are no other maps like this where there is a giant open area. Why I'm putting it above Kino though is because it actually introduced 2 new wonder gadgets, while Kino introduced 1 new wonder weapon, the Thunder Gun. Ascension introduced the Matryoshka dolls and the Gersh devices and actually introduced in Easter eggs into zombies. Plus with the more focus on the story in this map, I personally think Ascension beats out Kino by just the smallest margin. Ascension once again is not a terrible map. I personally think it's a bit mediocre, but it's not a bad map by any means. And once again, like I said, Black Ops 1 is just full of great maps, and this is just near the bottom unfortunately. Following up Ascension is actually Shangri-La. Shangri-La, in my review, I talked about how I liked a lot of things about it, but I also disliked just about as many things. Shangri-La is very polarizing to me. It introduced a lot of cool things, but it did so many things wrong that I just don't find myself playing this map as much as I do with the other maps I'm about to talk about. Shangri-La struggles from a few problems, mainly in its Easter egg. As I go into in my review, I pretty much talk about how I'm more of an Easter egg guy, and I like having objectives in my map, something to strive for and complete. That's one of the reasons why I like the newer games so much. Every single map comes equipped with a very fun, usually, quest that, you know, can be mastered. Shangri-La unfortunately does not because it has a 4-player Easter egg in a very condensed map, and in fact the map is so goddamn enclosed it just strangles the player from head to toe with some very cheap traps to add on top of it. Shangri-La I was talking about being one of the better maps to get better at zombies in, and I stand by that. However, Shangri-La struggles from a lot of problems in its design, where there is 0 places to train, and with all these traps all around the map, where the zombies are unaffected by it, more specifically the spike trap and more notoriously the mud trap, it's just not a fun map to play, and bundled with a very bad quest and just overall clunky design, like the left side being better to take than the right side and stuff like that, lack of incentive to explore certain places, a very awkward flow, the really bad pack-a-punch system. It's just not a very fun map for me to come back to. It is a good challenge for sure, and that's one of the reasons I like it more than Kino and Ascension, but it's just not a great map. I think the wonder weapon is definitely very fun, however, it has a huge risk in place with it, where if you run into a zombie, they can still damage you even if they're a baby. It's definitely a very fun map. I definitely do like it, but once again, I just don't like it as much as the rest. Following up Shangri-La is actually Moon. Now, I know in my Moon review, I was going ham taro on this map and talking about how, like, it has so many problems. And it does have so many problems, but I personally find Moon very fun to play. I really like the atmosphere or lack thereof. I like the story a lot, I like the wonder weapons, I like the QEDs, I like the return of the Gersh devices, I like the PES system, I think it's pretty neat. I don't like how it muffles your sound, but, you know, it gives the map its own flavor. I also really like the wonder weapon, of course, because you can, of course, merge them, and then you can use them as a dual-wield zap gun. The zap guns aren't very good, but they're still very cool. I hate the excavators, of course. Its Easter egg is really bad, but it's not as bad as Ascensions. You can at least do the damn thing solo, despite it being one of the worst Easter eggs to do solo ever. It's still possible to do solo, and its payoff, though, is very good, and it can kind of offset how bad the Easter egg is to do in solo. One another problem is you're forced to play as Richtofen in solo for this reason. Moon is a very polarizing map that struggled like Shangri-La from a lot of design flaws, like no fast travels, really questionable Easter egg, clunky map layout, but it's really unique on its own, of course, with the, you know, like the unique spawn room. It has the really cool wonder weapon that can be merged. It has a lot of things, but it also has a lot of things it does wrong, like with the excavators. No fast travels, of course, I'm going in circles, but I think Moon is alright, and its story really elevates it up for me. Plus, you know, some of its design is pretty fun, but it's definitely not my favorite map in Black Ops 1. Following up Moon, we have Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead to me is a very, very fun map. It's just full of personality. Everywhere you look, it has something unique about it. The cast we've never seen before, and we've never seen again. George Romero, the first ever real boss zombie other than the Pentagon Thief, to follow you around the entire game. He rewards you handsomely with a death machine and a free perk. If you complete the Easter egg, you get a Wonder Waff, the only infinite damage gun on Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead has two amazing wonder weapons. The VR-11, which is not really the best in terms of performance for killing zombies, but is very fun in co-op. It also has the Scavenger, which is just a badass sniper rifle that eviscerates every single zombie in its path. You have the really unique Easter egg, which can be done solo, and the steps aren't too shabby, especially in Black Ops 1. It has a different version for co-op, which I think is a bit unnecessary, but at least it can be done solo. Another good thing, of course, is being able to get a DIY perkaholic. To say the map is perfect, though, is definitely not true, as it does struggle from a lot of problems. Some clunky map layout, like when you're going down from the power switch, down to the area where you go get Jug, you can't go back. You have problems with George following you literally everywhere and you get no break. You have problems with the fog. You, of course, have some problems with getting to certain parts of the map. It's kind of clunky, but, you know, for what it is, it's definitely one of the best maps inside of Black Ops 1. And is definitely one of my favorite maps inside of Black Ops 1. Coming in at the best map in Black Ops 1, in my personal opinion, is actually 5. Yes, I am alone on this hill here. I personally just think 5 is the best map in this game. The difficulty on this map is just so supreme and so oppressive and so unique that I just can't help but really like this map. I don't play it as much as, of course, as some of the newer maps, but I always find myself wanting to play 5 when I load up Black Ops 1. It may have something to do with the fact the cast is super unique. It has an intro cutscene. It has some very interesting story, especially being expanded upon and classified. But it has so much unique to it. And while the wonder weapon in this map, you know, is very bad, I honestly kind of like it. You know, it's kind of like a beginner gun. You know, it's good for the early rounds, but not good for the later rounds. But in the early rounds, you're not going to die with this thing if you get it from the box. And you know, not having a wonder weapon will help train your zombie skills. There's actually some places to train on this map, unlike Shangri-La, which has nowhere to train. The War Room on 5 is the best place to train, and then combining that with the really cool boss, the Pentagon Thief, who drops a unique drop called the Bonfire Sale, this map just feels super rewarding. It has the first buildable on it being the electric trap. It has the really creepy lore on the bottom floor, but then has like the super clean upstairs. The atmosphere is really unmatched. Unfortunately, the Nova Crawlers bring this map down. Combining that with, you know, the very lackluster wonder weapon, and unfortunately the very bad Black Ops 1 guns, it does make for a very frustrating time and some very cheap downs. But for the most part, I just feel like this map is pure skill and is just definitely one of the best maps to get you better at zombies. So those were my Black Ops 1 rankings. These are what I think of Black Ops 1. These are from my worst to best. Keep in mind that Kino being at the bottom does not make it the worst map of all time. Kino on its own is a decent map. It just doesn't do anything special. In my review for Kino, I'm talking about how it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's really not. It's just a decent map. It's a decent survival map. But like, it's kind of like Nocturne Toten. You can't put Nocturne Toten as the best map simply based off what it did. You gotta be objective with it, and Kino unfortunately just isn't all that. It's not a bad map, but you know, it's just not all that. Anyway though, I know this list was very controversial, but these are my opinions, guys. I'm not just gonna say, oh, I don't know, Moon is the best, or Call of the Dead is the best. Well, those are one of my top parts of Black Ops 1. I definitely don't think that either of those two maps are better than 5 in my personal opinion. I just really enjoy 5, and I wanted to be honest with you guys and just tell you guys what I think about Black Ops 1. But anywho, guys, if you all want to get a bigger perspective on my opinions on each map, go check out the individual reviews on my channel. I have a weekly retrospective series coming out right now until we hit the end of Cold War, where every single Tuesday at 9 a.m. I release a new Zombies Retrospective. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. But anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.